Good afternoon, YouTube. I like to say a few things again about this child trafficking, child pedophilia. I spoke on it on Friday, and I know you guys can tell that it touched me deeply. It touched me deeply, okay? And if somebody has been touched deeply about a situation that's going on, if they feel a certain kind of way about it, pay attention. Maybe they've been a victim themselves. Quick story, I'm telling you. The honest God truth. I feel deeply about this because it was almost me. It almost happened to me. Can you believe that? I never discussed it in a public forum, but my friends knew. Everybody I went to camp with knew. My grandmother knew. It was my cousins knew. I don't know if they remember, but back in the late 80s, I had to be about 11 and a half years old. And I was on my way to camp. You remember Camp Best Friend, long time ago, summer camp, okay? We were living in Scottsdale at the time. And every year when we go to summer camp, go through a pathway, everything's fine. But when I got 11 and a half years old, this changed. This changed how I think about men, guys. Now I'm at a point where I'm okay to kind of talk about it. But that was an experience that I would never want anyone to go through. You understand? I'm hurt by it because it almost been me. It was almost me. It was almost me, okay? I don't know if I would have been a victim of murder, rape, or trafficking. I wouldn't know. I don't know what his intentions were. All I know is I heard the voice of God. I listened, and that saved my life. Saved my life. Let me tell you the story. It had to have been about 8 o'clock in the morning. Camp had already started, okay? I was late this morning. My grandmother and her best friend were leaving out for the day, going downtown to shop, right? And you know, older people, they want to go early in the morning and be there when everything opens. So I waited on, till they got ready to go. I'm going to walk out the door with them. My grandmother and her best friend. They left out. I left out with them. Nobody's in the house. My grandmother locked the door. We all walking out, okay? The bus stop is down the street. The bus stop was down a hill like. And instead of walking with them to the bus stop and then taking the streetway all the way to the recreation center, I decided to cut through the pathway. And my life almost had been changed forever if I didn't hear the voice of God. I walked through this path. I told them bye, and I took off running through the path. I knew I was by myself, so I didn't want to walk. Now, many years I had walked this path. Many years by myself. It could have been at night, but if I'm alone, I would run through. Okay? This path was so dark that once you enter it, it's like darkness all of a sudden in broad daylight. So I ran through the path while my grandmother then was on the way down the street to the bus stop. I ran through the path to shorten my trip to the gym. Halfway through, at first, when I got now, see, this is how you know God works and prayer works. At the beginning of the path, I stopped. I prayed. I asked God to send his holy angels and watch over me. I asked him that. I always been a prayer. Since I was a kid, I always been a prayer. I asked God to watch over me and to guide me safely on this journey. Okay? And I took off running. After the prayer, I took off running. And something deep down in my spirit said, my grandmother's best friend always told me whenever I would feel afraid, because they would always send me places, and a lot of times I would be by myself, but I never was afraid to go anywhere. I always knew that I walked, I don't know what it is, but I always knew that I walked with giants. And to me, they were 10 feet tall. I had 3 giants with me, but to the naked eye, I was by myself, to the naked eye. But to me, spiritually, the giants were like 10 feet tall. You know, when you're a kid, they're huge. So to me, if you're not spiritual, you won't get what I'm saying. And I just took off. And my grandmother's best friend always told me, Tilly, whenever you're afraid and you're walking by yourself, always sing a church hymn. Always, keep God in the forefront of your mind, and he'll make sure those angels get you where you need to be and where you need to go, right? So after I said that prayer at the beginning of the path, I took off running. In my head, I'm singing a church song. I'm singing. I'm in my head. I'm quietly singing. In the middle of my run, something says, stop! In my head. I stopped for a minute. I'm like, there's nobody else I don't see anybody else. Could it be talking to me? That's what I'm thinking in my head. When you got to learn to hear God. Sometimes he holler at you. Sometimes he come at that still small voice. But a lot of times to get your attention when you're running into something that he's trying to save you from. So he screamed at me. He said, stop. And I stopped for a second. And I'm like, oh my God, what is going on? I started praying immediately. And then I took off again, continuing my way. Then all of a sudden, something hit me in my chest so hard that it knocked the wind out of me. And when it knocked the wind out of me, I stopped completely. And then I heard a voice in my head say, didn't you hear me? Stop and pay attention. The voice said, get down. I was acting on the words quick as I heard them. Soon as it said, get down, I got down. Not on my knees, I just cowered down. I just stooped down. I stooped down and the voice said, look around. I looked around and looked around. I didn't understand what was going on. But then all of the hairs on the back of my neck and on my arms, they stood up. And I'm like, and it was so quiet. You couldn't hear a bird, a squirrel. You couldn't hear nothing. I'm like, that ain't like this pathway. And I said, God, I don't know what this is, but I'm listening. He said, look around. Don't go no further. Just look around. I looked around. I didn't see anything. Slowly, I looked around. Then I heard a voice say, look up. Just look up. When I looked up, a stream of light from the sun was shining down all the way through the darkness of the pathway. And I followed that rays all the way down to where it stopped at. And it stopped on the tip of some black boots. laying in wait for me or for anybody who would have came across that path. Just so happened it was me. It was me. Now, had I not obeyed God and went further, would I still be here? So that's why I feel strongly about situations like that. Soon as I spotted those boots and my eyes zeroed in on them, God, the light pointed directly on the top of his boots. And they was black and shined up. And they were out of place. Jet black. Everything brown and green in the woods. The boots were shining. Jet black. He was standing on the side of a big tree in camouflage. Once I looked at the boots, I made my way up and saw once I realized he's in camouflage with black boots. I stood up. I turned around. Fire got under my little fat ass. Do you hear me? I never ran. Let me tell you, I ran so hard and so goddamn fast, I forgot my grandmama at the bus stop. And ain't nobody at the house. I ran so goddamn, I ran to the house. Beating and screaming on the door. I'm going crazy. I'm going crazy. That's the first time I ever had an anxiety attack. And then what make it so bad is, once realization hit me that they were at the bus stop, I had to leave and walk back past the same pathway that I knew he was in, waiting on me. Y'all don't understand what I'm saying. I took off. I'm telling you, I said another good prayer. And all I know is, he gonna have to kill me. And I took off back down the street past the pathway. And I know he was there watching. He know I saw him. He know I saw him. And all I can think of, I'm 11 and a half years old. This a full-grown man. I'm no match for him. Either I'm gonna die, or being raped, being sold, I don't know what was his intentions. I'm telling you guys, and I can say that honestly. That's why it hurt me so bad when I hear about this child trafficking and all this shit. That shit hurt. Because I like to have been a victim. I don't know what his intentions were. But I ran all the way. I'm talking about singing. When I tell you I was to God, I didn't even look toward the pathway. All I know is, God, you said you got me. Now give me some wings when I tell you I was running so fast, I think I felt myself pass myself. I ran outside my body. Looked like 30 seconds. I was standing before my grandmother on my knees crying. And she was like, what's wrong with you? We thought you had done made it. I said, no, it's a man in the bushes. He got on camouflage. He got on black boots. When I tell you I was so hysterical, my grandmother said, go the street way. They can see me go the street way from where they were standing. Don't go back through that pathway, Tilly. She said, we're going to watch you from here. Go the street way. I went the street way. I told everybody. I told everybody in the gym. I told everybody. We have predators among us. And y'all will never guess who the motherfucker was. Months had went by. It's cheerleading time now. I was in every activity at the gym. Whatever they got going on, bitch, I'm in it. So now it's cheerleading time. Summertime gone. It's cheerleading time. One day we was at practice. And I had held my pee for so long. And I asked Miss Betty, our coach, I said, Miss Betty, please, I got to use it now. She was like, go ahead, hurry up and get back. I ran out of the gym, down the hallway to the bathroom. I was running so fast, I didn't even see the wet floor signs on the floor. I didn't see the wet flow signs. Right when I got to the bathroom, I started sliding. I slid. Once I slid, it was a guy mopping at the end of the hall. He was mopping once I looked up and realized it. And while I was on the ground with one hand, both of my hands and one knee was on the ground, and I balanced myself that way. I didn't totally fall. I slid. And when I slid right into him. I looked at him from his shoes all the way up. Once I realized and looked, I couldn't take my eyes off his shoes. I had seen those shoes months before in the bushes. Y'all, I screamed so goddamn loud. Everybody that was in the gym came running out. This nigga standing here holding the mop. Like, what's wrong? What, bitch? I'm telling you, if I had been an adult at the time, but I was so stumped and shocked, anxiety kicked in again. I had a whole anxiety attack. All of the grown guys that was at the gym, they know I ain't screaming and hollering like that for nothing. When they got to me and asked me what was wrong, what was going on, I told them what happened with me in the summertime. I told them about them goddamn boots, and this his ass. This his ass. This bitch been sitting up watching us play basketball, cheerleader practice, summer camp. This motherfucker done watched us all year goddamn long. And he was a predator. Do you hear me? So that's why I feel a certain way. I feel a certain way about it. And I didn't want to say nothing to the internet to bring that up, but bitch, if I see your ass today, I never forget your face. You hear me? I kill you dead. You almost ruined my life, and ain't no telling how many other lives you probably have ruined. You probably ruined a whole bunch of life. I can tell. That wasn't your first rodeo. But I promise you, that day, I was your last try for a long time. When I tell y'all, the guys grabbed his ass, held his ass down. They called the cops. The cops came and took him away. They started searching shit. When they searched his shit, you got the whole armor fatigue shit in your truck. Bitch, I kill you. Yes, I'm grown now. I don't give a fuck if you made it through prison, if you live. I wish you would have died in there, bitch. Ain't no telling how many children you done prayed on. But see, what you didn't know, you were messing with God, one of God's anointed. You hear me? He told you don't touch my prophet, he told you don't touch my anointed and don't do my prophet no harm. You tried to harm me, but God wouldn't let it. He wouldn't let it. I heard God clearly, y'all, I'm telling you. So when I hear things about kids being taken, being hurt, being raped, and you wonder what could you do, sometimes fear paralyzes you. People understand this. Sometimes you might have a chance to run, but the fear of it paralyzes you. It paralyzes you to the point where you can't run. And that's something I had been holding in since I was 11 and a half. And for the motherfucker, when you went to jail or prison, or if they found your fingerprints anywhere else, I hope you died there. And if you don't, and if you see me today, you might not even remember. But I bet you remember that scenario. Okay? Remember that scenario. You hear me? I don't even want no apology. I might just do real damage to you. I'm just, you almost took my life from me because you was a nasty, old, selfish motherfucker. You almost did that to me. You almost. If I hadn't heard God that day, if I hadn't obeyed God that day, I wouldn't be here right now. Do you understand? So people, don't start downing people when they say what they could have did in a situation. Because we have predators all around us. In plain sight. In plain sight. This man watched us basically grow up. Been watching us this whole goddamn time. If I hadn't had to use the bathroom, ran down the hall and slid into him, we wouldn't have never known. We would have never known. So from that day on, everybody need to come to the gym. We had to walk together in a group. Y'all know what I'm talking about. We was in Scottsdale. Y'all know what I'm talking about. We had to walk together in a group. When we went trick or treat, all that shit, we had to be together in a group. Everything was in a group. You go through that path, we need to be in a group. Because that like to happen to me and I was by myself. So that was something I wanted to tell you all, get that off my chest. And that's why I feel a certain kind of way about that traffic and shit, okay?
Just sitting here.
All right.